The final invoice was due. The ledger of a devoted heart, once overflowing with boundless affection, had been ruthlessly exploited, its balance pushed to the breaking point. Now, the time had come for the ultimate reckoning, a payment in pain and shattered trust. Liam Sterling's calloused hands, accustomed to the raw, unyielding steel of the offshore world, froze above the tablet screen. A stark notification illuminated the otherwise oppressive darkness of Meridian Alpha, a solitary beacon of metal and machinery anchored 200 meters offshore, surrounded by an endless expanse of black water and the rhythmic thrum of drilling equipment. He stared, mesmerized and repulsed, at a text message that promised to unravel the very fabric of his existence. Running late? Honey. Facial appointment went long. Don't wait up. Zoxo Eleanor. The message bore the chilling timestamp of 11:47 p.m. A bitter, knowing laughter, dry as the desert wind, caught in his throat. Eleanor's Elysian Wellness Center closed its doors promptly at 6 p.m. He had been married to Eleanor for 18 years, a span long enough to recognize the subtle tremor in her voice when she lied, long enough to know she never, ever used Zoxo in her text messages. 18 years was certainly long enough to be intimately familiar with a gnawing, icy tendril of betrayal that now slithered its way up his esophagus, threatening to choke him. The tablet, a vital component of the rig's intricate communication system, was meticulously synced to emergency contacts. Eleanor, in her haste, had forgotten her smartwatch at home before his grueling 2-week rotation, and it remained inexplicably paired to his work account. She believed, in her profound ignorance, that the vast, isolating expanse of the Gulf Coast rendered her digital secrets invisible to him. She was catastrophically wrong. With a deliberate, measured click, Liam saved the damning screenshot, its pixels burning into his memory, before calmly deleting the notification. Around him, the relentless ballet of the night shift continued its unceasing rhythm. Heavy boots clanging on metal walkways, disembodied voices echoing technical pressure readings. No one on Meridian Alpha noticed that the grizzled rigger in Section C had just unearthed the devastating truth about his wife's duplicity. He completed the remainder of his shift in a state of mechanical silence, his hands performing the familiar diagnostics on complex drilling equipment while his mind, a far more sophisticated instrument, ran its own relentless diagnostics on the crumbling edifice of his marriage. Every suspiciously late meeting of the Parent-Teacher Association, every girls' night that stretched far past midnight, every instance she had seemed visibly, palpably relieved when he departed for the rig, each memory now replayed in his mind, illuminated by the harsh, unforgiving light of hindsight. The helicopter ride back to shore felt interminably longer than usual. Each rotor beat a mocking echo of his fractured reality. Liam sat in the passenger bay, the safety harness cinched uncomfortably tight across his chest, his gaze fixed on the distant landscape of the Texas coastline, which seemed to grow with agonizing slowness through the window. His phone vibrated, a text from Eleanor. "Welcome home. Made your favorite dinner. Can't wait to see you." He offered no reply, his fingers devoid of the will to connect. The uniform suburban streets of Crestwood appeared strangely alien at dawn. Identical emerald lawns, perfectly matched mailboxes, lives meticulously concealed behind closed doors and drawn curtains. Liam parked his sturdy pickup in the driveway of 89, Oakwood Lane, and sat for a moment, simply observing the 2-story house he had diligently, painstakingly paid for with 14 years of arduous offshore labor. Beige siding, stark black shutters, the quintessential American dream, meticulously wrapped in vinyl and years of crushing mortgage payments. Eleanor met him at the door, draped in a luxurious silk robe, her blonde hair impeccably styled even at 7 in the morning. She leaned in to kiss his cheek, and he caught the distinct scent of an expensive, unfamiliar perfume, not the mundane, mass-market fragrance she typically wore. "How was the rotation?" she asked, her voice a practiced melody of concern, already turning toward the kitchen as if eager to escape further scrutiny. "Same as always," Liam replied, his voice carefully neutral as he set his duffel bag by the stairs and followed her. "How was your facial last night?" She didn't even hesitate, her response flowing effortlessly. "Wonderful. Olivia truly worked out the tension in my shoulders." Coffee. Olivia. Not the name on the Elysian Wellness Center schedule when he had discreetly called during his brief shore leave. Olivia didn't work Tuesday nights. "Sure," Liam murmured, seating himself at the kitchen island, his eyes fixed on his wife as she poured coffee into his favorite mug. He noticed, with a jolt, the new pair of dazzling diamond earrings glinting at her ears, items he had never laid eyes on before. "Those are new." Eleanor touched one earring, a small, knowing smile playing on her lips. "Early birthday present to myself. You like them?" Liam's birthday was still 3 months away. His wife had purchased herself diamond earrings and concocted an elaborate lie about a facial appointment. The mathematical equation was chillingly simple, brutally ugly. "They're nice," he said, his voice flat. He sipped his coffee, tasting absolutely nothing. "Where's Chloe?" "Still sleeping. School doesn't start for another hour." Eleanor leaned against the counter, her gaze subtly dissecting him. "You seem tired. Perhaps you should rest." "Perhaps I should." Liam rose, a plan already beginning to coalesce in his mind, and headed for the stairs. "Going to grab a shower." In the bathroom, he turned on the water, allowing the rhythmic spray to mask any sound, and pulled out his phone. The screenshot from the rig, time-stamped 11:47 p.m., remained a stark testament. He scrolled through his recent calls and found the number for the Elysian Wellness Center. He dialed it again, his thumb pressing the final digit with unwavering resolve. "Elysian Wellness Center, this is Brenda." "Hi. I'm trying to reach Olivia about my wife's appointment last night." "Olivia?" "Sir, we don't have anyone named Olivia working here, and we close at 6 on weekdays." The cold certainty that settled in his chest was more profound, more absolute, than any physical chill the hot water could possibly wash away. His wife was engaged in an affair, and she harbored the dangerous delusion that he was too naive, too obtuse to notice. She was about to learn just how catastrophically wrong she was. The next 2 weeks unfolded as a meticulous, almost surgical exercise in observation. Liam watched Eleanor with the same unwavering intensity he applied to pressure gauges on the rig, constantly, methodically, noting every minute fluctuation, every subtle deviation from the norm. She spent increasingly longer periods preparing herself in the mornings, her reflection in the mirror becoming a canvas for a newfound allure. Her phone, once an afterthought, was now checked with obsessive regularity, clutched almost like a lifeline. She began enthusiastically volunteering for evening PDA events that, without fail, somehow stretched beyond 10 o'clock. But most telling, most unequivocally damning, was the radical transformation in her mood. For months, Eleanor had been a distant, icy presence, perpetually complaining about his demanding job, his frequent absences, his perceived lack of ambition. Now, she was almost effervescently cheerful, humming tunelessly while she cooked, purchasing a parade of new clothes, and scheduling her nail appointments twice a week. Someone, undoubtedly, was making his wife profoundly happy. It was unequivocally not him. On a blustery Thursday morning, Liam drove to his brother Ethan's auto haven on the far side of Prosper City. Ethan, 3 years his junior, still unmarried, was the solitary individual Liam trusted implicitly, without reservation. The shop enveloped him in a familiar embrace of motor oil and metal, honest, earthy smells that evoked nostalgic echoes of their late father's humble garage. "You look like hell," Ethan remarked, wiping grease from his hands with a faded red rag. "Rough rotation, something like that." Liam leaned against the workbench, the cool metal a grounding presence. "Need to ask you something. You ever see Eleanor around town when I'm offshore?" Ethan's expression subtly shifted, a flicker of unease crossing his features. "Why? Just asking." Ethan slowly set down the rag, his gaze steady. "Last week, I saw her car parked behind Crestwood Academy around 9 at night. Thought it was weird since school events usually end by 7. You sure it was her car? Silver Honda Accord. License plate says Eleanor Love. Hard to miss." Liam had bought Eleanor that car 2 years prior. She had insisted on the vanity plates, a small indulgence he had granted with a loving smile. Now, those same plates were inadvertently aiding him in tracking her clandestine movements. "You think she's—" Ethan didn't bother to finish the unspoken question. "I think I need to be sure." Ethan nodded slowly, a silent understanding passing between them. "What do you need?" "Time, and maybe some help." That same afternoon, Liam drove to a nondescript electronics store in Prosperous City, paying cash for a prepaid phone and a discreet digital recorder. He then opened a new, highly secure bank account at a branch Eleanor had never used, meticulously transferring half of their combined savings to an account held solely in his name. Finally, he secured an appointment with Detective Cassandra Thorne, a formidable former police detective renowned for her specialized expertise in adultery cases. "Most men want to confront immediately," Cassandra observed, her voice calm and authoritative from across her polished desk. "That's usually a fatal mistake. If you desire true leverage in a divorce, you require unimpeachable documentation. Photos, irrefutable recordings, credible witnesses. Emotion, no matter how powerful, utterly destroys cases. Evidence, cold and hard, wins them." Liam paid her retainer in crisp, untraceable cash. "How long?" "Give me 2 weeks. Maintain normalcy at home. Do not alter your behavior in any discernible way. Let her grow comfortable, complacent, normal." Liam found the word a hollow echo, its meaning utterly lost to him. At home, he dutifully assisted Chloe with her algebra homework while Eleanor's cheerful voice, engaged in a phone conversation, drifted from the next room. His 16-year-old daughter, Chloe, resembled him more profoundly with each passing year. Dark, thoughtful hair, serious, observant eyes, and a careful, measured approach to her words. She had always been closer to Eleanor, but lately, Liam had detected a subtle undercurrent of tension, a barely perceptible friction between them. "Mom's been acting weird," Chloe confided, erasing a wrong answer with a frustrated sigh. "Like really happy all the time." "It's creepy." "Happy is good," Liam offered, testing the waters. "Not this kind of happy. She bought me 3 new outfits last week and keeps asking about my friend's parents. Like she's trying to be the cool mom or something." Liam patiently guided her through the next equation. "Your mom's always cared about what people think." "Yeah, but this is different." Chloe lowered her voice, a conspiratorial whisper. "She's been taking calls in the garage. Says it's PDA business, but she closes the door." The garage. Liam's workshop was directly attached to the house through the garage. Years ago, he had installed a discreet security camera to monitor his valuable tools. The camera fed directly to his phone app, but he hadn't thought to check in months. That night, after Eleanor had fallen into a deep, unsuspecting sleep, Liam descended to his workshop and pulled up the camera footage on his phone. The camera boasted a wide-angle lens that encompassed the garage entrance and a significant portion of the driveway. He scrolled back through 2 weeks of recordings, fast-forwarding through the mundane, empty frames. There, Tuesday night, 11:23 p.m., Eleanor's Honda Accord pulled into the garage, but she did not immediately exit. The passenger door opened first. A man stepped out, tall, with dark hair, dressed in khakis and a button-down shirt. He walked around to Eleanor's door and courteously opened it for her. They stood in close proximity for a full 30 seconds before disappearing inside through the house door. Liam's hands trembled visibly as he screenshotted the damning timestamp. He scrolled forward. The man departed at 12:47 a.m., again through the garage. Eleanor walked him to his vehicle, a sleek black BMW sedan parked discreetly on the street. They embraced, a long, lingering farewell, before he drove away into the night. His wife was bringing her lover into their house, into his workshop, into the very home he had labored for 14 years of offshore rotations to pay for. Liam saved the footage, a chilling testament to her betrayal, and returned inside. Eleanor was sleeping peacefully, her face relaxed and serene in the dim, ambient light from the hallway. She appeared younger in slumber, a haunting echo of the woman he had married in Starlight Sands after only 6 months of whirlwind dating. She had been 23 then, working as a receptionist at an insurance office, her eyes alight with dreams of a grander, more expansive life. He, at 25, fresh off his first rig job, had been utterly convinced he could provide her with every desire of her heart. Perhaps, he now realized with a crushing certainty, he had been profoundly wrong about what she truly desired. Detective Cassandra Thorne called on Friday afternoon while Liam was replacing brake pads on his truck at Ethan's Auto Haven. "I've got preliminary results," she stated, her voice brisk and professional. "Are you somewhere private?" "Go ahead," Liam replied, walking to the secluded back of Ethan's shop, the clang of metal fading behind him. Subject's name is Maxwell Croft, assistant principal at Crestwood Academy. Divorced, 2 kids he sees on weekends. Clean credit, no criminal history. Lives alone in a condo on Willow Streamway. How long has this been going on? Hard to say exactly, but I followed them Thursday night. Dinner at the Obsidian Hearth, then back to his place. They weren't acting like it was their first date. Liam closed his eyes, a wave of bitter irony washing over him. The Obsidian Hearth was where he had taken Eleanor for their anniversary just 3 months prior. She had barely spoken during dinner, checking her phone obsessively, claiming the PDA was in the midst of an urgent crisis. "I need photos," he stated, his voice devoid of emotion. "I've got them. But Liam, there's something else. I ran a deeper background check on your wife. She's been busy." "What do you mean?" "New credit cards in her name only, a storage unit rented just last month, and she's been meeting with a divorce attorney." The phone felt impossibly heavy in Liam's hand, a leaden weight of despair. "Which attorney?" "Croft and Company. Legal, downtown Prosperous City. Specializes in high-asset divorces." Eleanor was meticulously planning to leave him. The affair wasn't merely a moment of weakness or a fleeting midlife crisis. It was a calculated, cold-blooded exit strategy. "How much time do I have?" Liam asked, his voice strained. "If she files first, you're playing defense. Texas is a community property state, but if she can prove you abandoned the marriage or demonstrate unfitness as a parent, she gains significant leverage. Plus, she's positioning herself as the stable, physically present parent while you're offshore half the time." Liam thanked Cassandra and hung up, a chilling realization dawning on him. His wife wasn't merely cheating on him. She was strategically maneuvering to seize his daughter, his home, and half of his hard-earned assets, all while fabricating a narrative that blamed him for the demise of their 18-year marriage. But Eleanor had committed one crucial, fatal error. She believed Liam Sterling was merely a simple blue-collar worker who would passively roll over and accept defeat. She had forgotten that an offshore rigger, a survivor in the harshest of environments, operates with methodical precision, unwavering patience, and an innate ability to remain 3 steps ahead of any impending disaster. It was time to refresh her memory. Saturday morning, Liam volunteered to drive Chloe to her soccer game. In the confined space of the car, he casually ventured that Eleanor seemed particularly stressed lately. "She's been acting super weird," Chloe confirmed, adjusting her seatbelt, her brow furrowed with genuine concern. "Like yesterday, she started crying while making dinner, then got mad when I asked what was wrong." Her voice lowered, a hint of accusation creeping in. "And she keeps talking about how hard it must be for me to have a dad who's never home. What do you think about that?" Chloe looked out the window, her gaze distant. "I mean, yeah, it sucks sometimes, but you work really hard for us, Dad. Mom acts like you're offshore for fun or something. Your mom's under a lot of pressure with the PDA. Dad." Chloe turned to face him, her eyes piercingly direct. "The PDA meets twice a month. She's gone almost every night now. Either I'm stupid or something else is going on." Liam's daughter was 16, not 6. She possessed the astute perception to discern the deepening cracks in their family unit as clearly as he could. "What do you want me to do about it?" he asked, his heart aching. "I don't know. But whatever's happening, I don't want you guys to get divorced. Sarah's parents split last year, and now she lives in 2 different houses, and her dad moved to California. I don't want that." Liam pulled into the bustling soccer complex parking lot. "Chloe, no matter what happens between your mom and me, you're the most important thing in my life. That's never going to change." She hugged him tightly before extricating herself from the car. "I love you, Dad." "Love you too, kiddo." Liam watched his daughter run toward the field, the rhythmic click of her cleats on the asphalt fading into the distance. Eleanor was attempting to subtly manipulate Chloe against him, painting him as an absent, uncaring father who prioritized his work over his family. It was a cunning, legally astute strategy. Family courts frequently favored mothers, particularly those who could successfully assert a claim of abandonment. But Chloe was now old enough to articulate her preferences, to choose which parent she wished to reside with. And at this moment, with profound clarity, she was choosing him. After the soccer game, Liam drove to the Builders Guild and purchased a small, sophisticated wireless recording device specifically designed for discreet home security. That evening, while Eleanor was conveniently occupied at yet another of her mysterious PDA meetings, he meticulously installed it under the kitchen table, cunningly hidden behind the central support beam. The device was capable of recording for a continuous 72 hours and transmitting crystal-clear audio directly to his phone. Monday morning, Eleanor offered him a perfunctory kiss goodbye at the front door. 2 weeks this time, standard rotation. "I'll miss you," she smiled, but her eyes, distant and detached, were already gazing past him, toward something or someone else. Liam drove to the heliport and boarded the crew transport to Meridian Alpha. The other riggers engaged in boisterous conversations about football and fishing during the flight. Liam stared out the window, his mind meticulously mapping out his wife's impending destruction. On the rig, he diligently worked his shifts, his senses constantly attuned to the audio feed from the kitchen recorder. Most of it was mundane, routine, Chloe doing her homework, Eleanor making legitimate phone calls about genuine PDA business. But on Wednesday night, he heard something that sent an icy shard of dread straight to his core. Eleanor's voice, speaking to someone on speakerphone, filled the small, metallic space of his cabin. "He's so clueless. 2 weeks offshore, and he has no idea what's happening at home. Honestly, Maxwell, sometimes I think he's too stupid to see what's right in front of him. A man's low, knowing laugh. Maybe he doesn't want to see it. Trust me, Liam only cares about work. As long as his paycheck clears and his dinner's ready, he's happy. He's never asked me a single question about where I go or what I do. What about Chloe? Eleanor's voice, chillingly devoid of emotion. She'll adjust. Kids are resilient. Besides, once the divorce is final, she'll see how much better life can be. No more waiting for Daddy to come home from his oil rig. You sure about the timeline? My lawyer says 6 months. Maybe less if Liam doesn't contest. With his work schedule, he can't claim to be the primary caregiver, and I've been meticulously documenting his absences. Liam saved the audio file, a damning piece of evidence, and set the phone aside. His wife was discussing their divorce as if it were a mere business transaction, callously reducing their 18-year marriage to a simple custody battle and asset division. She believed he was too naive, too weak to fight back. It was time to disabuse her of that dangerous notion. Liam immediately requested emergency shore leave, fabricating a plausible story about a family crisis. The rig supervisor, accustomed to Liam's unwavering dedication, granted it without question. Liam had worked 14 years without missing a single shift. The helicopter carried him swiftly back to shore on Friday afternoon. He did not go home immediately. Instead, he drove directly to Detective Cassandra Thorne's office and played her the chilling audio recording. "This is good," Cassandra remarked, her expression grim but appreciative. "Shows premeditation and planning. But you need more if you want to flip the custody situation." "What kind of more?" Liam asked, his jaw tight. "Evidence that she's unfit as a parent. Neglect, substance abuse, putting the child in danger. Simply having an affair, while morally reprehensible, isn't enough on its own in court." Liam recalled Chloe's unsettling comments. The late nights, the secretive, closed-door phone calls, the subtle, emotional manipulation. What if she's bringing him to the house when Chloe's there? That would be something significant, Cassandra confirmed, her eyes sharpening. Exposing a minor to an extramarital relationship can be grounds for reduced custody, especially if the child is aware, even implicitly, of what's happening. Liam paid Cassandra for another week of intensified surveillance and drove home. Eleanor's Honda was in the driveway, parked conspicuously next to Maxwell's BMW. It was 6:30 on a Friday evening, and his wife was brazenly entertaining her lover in their marital home while their daughter was, presumably, upstairs, oblivious. He parked 2 blocks away, a strategic distance, and called Chloe's cell phone. "Dad, I thought you weren't coming back until Sunday." Chloe's voice was laced with surprise. "Change of plans. Where are you?" "At home. Mom has a friend over from the PDA. They're in the living room talking about fundraiser stuff." "A friend from the PDA?" Liam closed his eyes, a familiar wave of nausea washing over him. "Chloe, I need you to do something for me. Go to your room and pack a bag. Clothes for a few days. Your school books. Anything important." "Why? What's wrong?" Chloe's voice, now tinged with anxiety. "I'll explain later. Just trust me, okay? Pack your bag and wait for my call." "Dad, you're scaring me." "I know, sweetheart, but I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" A pause, then a hesitant small voice. "Okay, but Dad, yeah. Is this about Mom's friend?" "Because he's been here before, and it's weird. Like they sit really close together and whisper a lot." Liam's heart splintered for his daughter. She knew something was profoundly wrong, but lacked the context, the understanding, to fully comprehend what she was witnessing. "Pack your bag, Chloe. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Liam drove to the house, pulling into the driveway directly behind the black BMW. He sat in his truck for a long moment, contemplating the home he had worked so tirelessly to provide. The porch light cast a warm, inviting yellow glow across the front steps. Through the living room window, he could discern two indistinct figures on the couch. He walked to the front door, his hand steady as he inserted his key. Eleanor's voice, mid-sentence, abruptly ceased as he stepped into the foyer. The living room lay to his right, and he saw her on the couch beside a tall man in khakis and a polo shirt. They were not touching, but the proximity was undeniably intimate, far closer than mere friends. "Liam," Eleanor uttered, scrambling to her feet, her face paling. "You're early. Mechanical problems on the rig. They sent us home." Liam's gaze shifted to the man, who was now also standing, a forced smile on his face. "You must be Maxwell." The man extended his hand, his grip surprisingly firm. "Maxwell Croft. Nice to meet you, Liam. Eleanor's told me so much about you." Liam did not shake his hand. "I'm sure she has." The silence stretched, thick and suffocating, between the three of them. Eleanor fidgeted nervously with her wedding ring, a telltale habit Liam instantly recognized. "Maxwell was just helping me plan the spring fundraiser," she stammered, her voice a little too high-pitched. "We were discussing corporate sponsorships." "On Friday night," Liam prompted, his voice laced with sardonic disbelief. "The PDA work never stops," Maxwell interjected, his laugh a forced, brittle sound. "You know how dedicated Eleanor is." Liam knew exactly how dedicated his wife was, just not to what Maxwell, in his blissful ignorance, imagined. "Well, don't let me interrupt." Liam headed for the stairs. "I'm going to shower and check on Chloe." In his daughter's room, he found her perched on her bed, her packed duffel bag beside her, her expression a mixture of fear and confusion. "Dad, what's going on?" Liam sat beside her, gently taking her trembling hands in his. "Chloe, I need to tell you something difficult. Your mom and I are having problems." "Is it because of her friend downstairs?" Liam looked into his daughter's eyes and saw the painful truth reflected there. Perhaps not the intricate details, but she understood, with a child's innate intuition, that something fundamental was terribly wrong. "Yeah, kiddo, it is." Chloe began to cry, silent tears tracking paths down her cheeks. "Are you getting divorced?" "I don't know yet, but I want you to know that none of this is your fault, and whatever happens, I'm going to take care of you. Can I stay with you? Do you want to?" She nodded, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "Mom's been acting really weird lately. She keeps asking me questions about you, like she's trying to get me to say bad things. And she told me you might not be able to live with us anymore because of your job." Eleanor was already poisoning their daughter against him, insidiously preparing Chloe for her father's impending absence from her life. "Get your bag," Liam said, his resolve hardening. "We're leaving." "Oh, where are we going?" "Uncle Ethan's house, just for tonight." They descended the stairs together, Chloe clutching her duffel bag like a shield. Eleanor and Maxwell were still in the living room, but now they stood conspicuously farther apart, having clearly engaged in a hushed, urgent conversation about Liam's unexpected return. "Chloe is going to stay at Ethan's tonight," Liam announced, his voice steady and calm. Eleanor's face went white, her composure shattering. "What? No, she's not. It's a school night. Ethan lives 10 minutes from school. I'll drive her." "Liam, we need to talk about this." "Do we?" Liam's gaze flickered to Maxwell, who was now openly uncomfortable, visibly squirming at the raw family drama unfolding before him. "Don't let us keep you, Maxwell. I'm sure you have somewhere to be." Maxwell glanced nervously at Eleanor, then back at Liam. "Maybe I should go." "Good idea." Eleanor walked Maxwell to the door, and Liam heard their frantic whispers in the foyer. Then the front door closed, its click of final, decisive punctuation, and Eleanor returned to the living room, her expression a mixture of fear and defiance. "Liam, I can explain." "Explain what?" "That your PDA meetings now occur on my couch." "It's not what you think." "What is it then?" Eleanor looked at Chloe, who stood steadfastly beside Liam with her duffel bag, her small face mirroring her father's grim resolve. "Not in front of her. She's 16, Eleanor. She's not stupid." "Daddy," Chloe said quietly, her voice barely a whisper. "Can we just go?" Liam put a comforting arm around his daughter. "Yeah, we can go." They left Eleanor standing alone in the living room, a solitary, shrinking figure. As Liam closed the front door behind them, he felt an irrevocable shift within him. The careful observation phase was over. Now it was time to act. At Ethan's apartment, Liam tucked Chloe into the guest room, reassuring her with a fierce, whispered, "I love you." Then he sat at Ethan's kitchen table, the silence broken only by the hum of the refrigerator, and meticulously began to compile a list of everything he needed to do. First, he called Detective Cassandra Thorne. "I need to accelerate the timeline," he informed her, his voice grim. "My wife knows I'm suspicious. She's either going to file for divorce immediately or become far more adept at concealing the affair." "What do you want to do?" Cassandra asked, her voice calm. "I want to destroy her." Cassandra was silent for a moment, her analytical mind processing his raw emotion. "Liam, I understand you're angry, but revenge has a dangerous way of backfiring. Focus on protecting your daughter and your assets." "That's precisely what I'm doing." The next morning, Liam drove Chloe to school and then proceeded directly to a divorce attorney. Not Croft and Company. Legal, where Eleanor was evidently shopping for her legal representation, but a smaller, highly reputable firm across town, one highly recommended by Cassandra Thorne. The attorney, Olivia Reed, was a woman in her 50s with intelligent graying hair and sharp, discerning eyes. She listened to Liam's entire narrative without interruption, occasionally making concise, pertinent notes. "Your wife has been meticulously planning this for months," Olivia stated when he had finished, her voice even. "The secret meetings with attorneys, the diligent documentation of your absences, the brazen affair. She's building a comprehensive case that you abandoned the family." "Can she win?" Liam asked, his hands clasped tightly before him. "In Texas, she doesn't have to prove fault for the divorce itself. But she can certainly utilize your work schedule to argue for primary custody and a disproportionately larger share of assets. Judges tend to favor the parent who is physically present." "What if I can prove she's unfit?" Olivia raised an eyebrow, a flicker of interest in her eyes. "What kind of proof?" Liam meticulously recounted the audio recordings, the security footage, and Cassandra's detailed surveillance photos. "That's a very strong start," Olivia conceded. "But adultery alone, while a factor, won't decisively flip custody unless you can demonstrate it directly harmed the child. You need to meticulously document how her behavior negatively affects Chloe." Liam left the attorney's office with a remarkably clear, albeit painful, strategy. He needed to subtly force Eleanor into making more mistakes, into inadvertently revealing her true, calculating character when she mistakenly believed no one was observing her. That afternoon, he picked up Chloe from school and took her to lunch at a quiet diner. "How are you doing with all this?" he asked, genuinely concerned. "Confused. Scared," Chloe confessed, picking at her sandwich, her appetite gone. "Is Mom really having an affair?" "What do you think?" Liam countered softly. "I think she is. The way she acts around that guy. The way she's been lying about where she goes." "I'm not stupid, Dad. I know you're not. And I'm so sorry you have to deal with this." Chloe looked up, her gaze direct. "Are you going to fight for custody of me?" Liam looked at his daughter across the restaurant table, 16 years old, An innocent caught precariously between two parents who were on the verge of tearing each other apart in a courtroom. Do you want me to? Yes, but I don't want to have to choose sides. You won't have to choose sides, Chloe, but you might have to tell the truth about what you've seen and heard. She nodded solemnly, her young face set with determination. I can do that. That evening, Liam returned to the house to retrieve more clothes for himself and Chloe. Eleanor was waiting in the kitchen, still in her crisp work clothes from the insurance office. We need to talk, she announced, her voice strained. About what? Liam asked, his voice deliberately flat. About you taking Chloe without discussing it with me first? About you embarrassing me in front of Maxwell? About whatever this paranoid episode is that you're clearly having. Liam poured himself a cup of coffee and calmly sat at the kitchen island. Paranoid episode? Yes. You're acting like I'm some kind of criminal. Maxwell is a colleague. We work together on PDA business. What kind of PDA business requires private meetings at the Obsidian Hearth? Eleanor's face went pale, her carefully constructed facade beginning to crack. How did you? Who told you that? Does it matter? Liam asked, his voice rising slightly. I can explain. Then explain. Eleanor sat across from him, her hands folded tightly on the counter, a desperate attempt at composure. Maxwell and I have become friends. Good friends. Maybe more than friends. But nothing has happened between us. Nothing has happened, not physically. I mean, there's an attraction, but we haven't acted on it. Liam calmly pulled out his phone and played the audio recording of her damning conversation with Maxwell. Eleanor's own voice, cold and dismissive, filled the kitchen. He's so clueless. 2 weeks offshore, and he has no idea what's happening at home. Eleanor listened to her own words with growing horror, her eyes widening. Where did you get that? You've been talking about our divorce for months, Eleanor. Planning it, strategizing how to take Chloe away from me. All while I'm offshore working to pay for this house, your car, her school clothes. I know about Croft and Company. Legal. I know about the storage unit. I know about the new credit cards. Eleanor stared at him across the kitchen island, her meticulously constructed edifice of lies crumbling around her. You hired someone to spy on me. I hired someone to document the truth. The truth. Eleanor's voice rose, edged with desperation. The truth is that I've been lonely for 16 years while you disappear for weeks at a time. The truth is that you care more about that oil rig than you do about your own family. Liam's voice remained calm, but it was edged with steel. The truth is that you've been planning to leave me while pretending everything was fine, using our daughter as a tool against me, making her think I don't care about her. I've never said anything bad about you to Chloe. You told her I might not be able to live with you anymore because of my job. You've been asking her leading questions, trying to get her to complain about my absences. You're poisoning her against me. Eleanor stood up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly. I want you out of this house. It's my house, too. Not for long. Liam finished his coffee and stood. You're right about that, but not for the reasons you think. He left Eleanor standing in the kitchen, a solitary figure consumed by her own unraveling, and went upstairs to pack more clothes. In their bedroom, he looked around at the life they had built together. Family photos on the dresser, Eleanor's ornate jewelry box, his sturdy work boots by the closet door. 18 years of marriage, meticulously constructed, now reduced to a bitter custody battle and a cold division of assets. His phone buzzed, a text from Cassandra Thorne. Call me. Important development. Liam called her from his truck in the driveway. I followed your wife to Maxwell's condo tonight, Cassandra reported. She's still there. But that's not the important part. What is? I ran a deeper background check on Maxwell Croft. He's got a problem. What kind of problem? Financial. He owes back taxes, child support, and alimony. His ex-wife has been trying to garnish his wages for 6 months. The implication settled heavily in Liam's mind. This guy isn't just having an affair with your wife. He needs her money. Liam absorbed this information, a new, chilling layer of betrayal. You think that's why he's with her? I think your wife represents financial security to a man who's drowning in debt. And I think she has absolutely no idea. Can you prove it? I can document his financial situation. Court records are public. Whether your wife knows about it is harder to prove, but if she's planning to marry this guy after your divorce, she's in for a very rude awakening. Liam thanked Cassandra and hung up. His wife was having an affair with a man who saw her as nothing more than a meal ticket. When the divorce was finalized and Eleanor received her settlement, Maxwell would be right there, eager to help her spend it. Unless Liam managed to prevent the divorce from unfolding precisely as Eleanor had meticulously planned. Monday morning, Liam drove Chloe to school and then proceeded directly to the Crestwood Academy administration office. He requested a meeting with Principal Holloway regarding a sensitive concern pertaining to his daughter's education. Principal Holloway, a composed woman in her 60s who had successfully steered the school for 15 years, listened politely as Liam, with carefully chosen words, expressed his concerns regarding the PDA's financial management. "I've noticed some irregularities," Liam stated carefully, maintaining an air of genuine, albeit worried, civic duty. "Contracts being awarded to vendors without proper bidding. My wife, Eleanor, serves on the PDA board, and she's mentioned some concerning decisions." "What kind of decisions?" Principal Holloway's brow furrowed, a flicker of concern in her eyes. "Well, for example, I understand that cleaning supplies have been purchased from a company owned by Assistant Principal Croft's family member. That seems like a potential conflict of interest." Liam had done his meticulous homework. Maxwell's cousin owned a janitorial supply company that had secured 3 PDA contracts in the past 6 months. The connection wasn't explicitly illegal, but it was undeniably ethically questionable, bordering on impropriety. "I'm probably worrying about nothing," Liam said, injecting a touch of self-deprecating humility. "But with all the budget pressures schools face these days, I think transparency is profoundly important." "I agree completely, Mr. Sterling. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I will look into it immediately." Liam left the meeting knowing he had successfully planted a potent seed of doubt about Maxwell's ethics. Principal Holloway would undoubtedly investigate, and she would uncover the vendor connections. Maxwell's professional reputation, and likely his career, would suffer a significant, perhaps irreversible blow. That afternoon, Liam drove to Maxwell's condo complex and waited patiently in the parking lot. At 5:30, Maxwell emerged impeccably dressed from a sleek black BMW, the very car Liam had seen in his security footage. Liam followed him to a trendy restaurant across town. Inside the bustling restaurant, Liam settled discreetly at the bar, ordering a drink while keeping a watchful eye on Maxwell, who was having dinner with a woman who was emphatically not Eleanor. The woman was blonde, noticeably younger, and clearly intimately comfortable with Maxwell. They held hands across the table, their fingers intertwined, and exchanged brief, tender kisses when they believed no one was observing. Liam, his hand steady, took several photos with his phone and immediately dispatched them to Cassandra Thorne. Maxwell wasn't merely having an affair with Eleanor. He was a serial philanderer, concurrently involved with multiple women. When Liam returned to Ethan's apartment, Chloe was diligently doing her homework at the kitchen table. "How was school?" he asked, softening his voice. "Weird. Mom picked me up instead of letting me take the bus. She kept asking me questions about what you've been telling me." "What kind of questions?" "Like, has Dad said anything bad about me? Has he told you we might not live together anymore?" Stuff like that. Eleanor was growing desperate, attempting to use Chloe as a desperate source of information regarding Liam's plans. What did you tell her? The truth. That you've been really nice to me and that you're trying to protect me from whatever's going on between you guys. Liam hugged his daughter tightly. You don't have to protect me, Chloe. Just be honest about what you see and hear. Dad, can I ask you something? Chloe's voice was small, vulnerable. What's going to happen to us? Liam looked at his 16-year-old daughter, trying desperately to offer her hope without making promises he might not be able to keep. I'm going to make sure you're safe and taken care of, no matter what. That's all I can promise right now. That night, Liam called his lawyer, Olivia Reed, and provided her with a comprehensive update on the day's developments. You're building a very strong case, Liam, Olivia stated, a note of impressed satisfaction in her voice. The financial irregularities at the school, the multiple affairs, the manipulation of your daughter, it all paints a compelling picture of someone who consistently makes profoundly poor decisions. Is it enough? It's getting there. But Liam, you need to be extremely careful. If your wife fully realizes how much evidence you're gathering, she might file for divorce immediately and claim you're harassing her. How long do I have? Hard to say, but I'd be prepared to file first if necessary. That would give you the advantage. Liam hung up and stared at the ceiling of Ethan's guest room. Filing first would mean officially ending his marriage, admitting that 18 years together had come to this agonizing, bitter conclusion. But if waiting meant losing Chloe, the choice was starkly, painfully simple. The next morning brought unexpected, urgent news. Your wife met with her attorney yesterday afternoon, Cassandra Thorne reported, her voice hushed. Emergency consultation. She's accelerating her timeline. How do you know? I have contacts at Croft and Company. Legal. Eleanor is planning to file for divorce by the end of the week and request immediate temporary custody based on your absence from the home. Liam felt the walls closing in, the air growing thin. What's my move? File first today. Claim abandonment based on her affair and request primary custody based on her unfit behavior. It's a bold move, but it's your best shot. Liam immediately called Olivia Reed and arranged to meet her at the courthouse. By 3 o'clock that afternoon, Liam Sterling had officially filed for divorce from Eleanor Sterling, citing adultery and requesting primary custody of their minor child. Eleanor's phone started ringing even before Liam had fully exited the courthouse building. Liam, what the hell did you do? Her voice was shrill, laced with panic. I filed for divorce. Since you were planning to do it anyway, I saved you the trouble. You can't do this. You can't take Chloe away from me. I'm not taking her away. I'm asking the court to decide what's best for her. She belongs with me. I'm her mother, and I'm her father, the father who's been working offshore for 16 years to support his family. The father who didn't abandon his marriage for a man who's using him for money. A stunned silence stretched across the line. You don't know what you're talking about, Eleanor finally managed, but her voice now lacked any semblance of conviction. I know Maxwell owes $30,000 in back taxes. I know he's behind on child support to his ex-wife. I know he's been seeing other women while he's been seeing you. Should I keep going? Another long, suffocating silence. Eleanor, you threw away 18 years of marriage for a man who sees you as nothing more than a bank account. When this divorce is final and you get your settlement, just watch how fast he marries you and then conveniently starts finding reasons to spend every last dime of your money. Liam hung up, ending the painful conversation, and drove directly to Chloe's school to pick her up. His daughter was unusually quiet during the drive, staring out the window with a troubled, introspective expression. Mom called the school office today. She finally volunteered, her voice quiet. She wanted to change my emergency contact information. Remove you and add Maxwell. Liam's hands tightened almost imperceptibly on the steering wheel. What did you tell them? I told them not to change anything without talking to you first. The secretary said they need both parents to agree anyway. Eleanor was moving with chilling speed, desperately attempting to establish Maxwell as a parental figure before the divorce proceedings officially commenced. It was a cunning legal strategy, but it undeniably revealed how little she genuinely cared about Chloe's emotional well-being. "Chloe, how do you feel about Maxwell?" "Honestly, he creeps me out. He tries too hard to be my friend, like he's acting in a play or something. And Mom becomes this weird, giggly person when he's around. It's gross." That evening, Liam received another call from Cassandra Thorne. "How about more photos?" she announced. "Your wife and Maxwell at his condo, but this time they're arguing. Look pretty heated. Want me to try to get audio?" "Do it." 2 hours later, Cassandra called back, her voice tinged with excitement. "Interesting development. I got close enough to hear some of their conversation through an open window. Your wife found out about Maxwell's financial problems. She's furious." "What did she say?" "She accused him of using her. He denied it, of course, but then she mentioned the other women. Apparently, she's been doing her own investigating." Cassandra chuckled softly. "The relationship is completely falling apart." Liam absorbed this information, a strange mix of grim satisfaction and pity washing over him. Eleanor's meticulously crafted perfect plan was crumbling into dust. Her lover was exposed as a calculating fraud. Her daughter was clearly choosing her father. And her husband had, decisively, filed for divorce first. "There's more," Cassandra continued. "She's talking about withdrawing her divorce petition and trying to reconcile with you." "What?" Liam exclaimed, momentarily stunned. Classic panic response. She realizes she's about to lose absolutely everything. So now she wants to revert to the status quo, the comfortable life she took for granted. Liam considered this possibility fleetingly. Eleanor would return home, offer profuse apologies, promise to end the affair, and beg for another chance, perhaps even shedding a few genuine tears. She'd play the role of the perfect, contrite wife for a few months, perhaps even a year. Then, when his guard was inevitably down, she'd begin meticulously planning her exit strategy all over again. "Not happening," he stated, his voice firm. "Good," Cassandra replied, her voice filled with professional satisfaction, "because I think you're about to decisively win this case." Friday morning, Liam was drinking coffee at Ethan's kitchen table when his phone rang. The caller ID clearly displayed Eleanor's number. "Liam, we need to talk about what happened. About us. About our marriage. I made a mistake with Maxwell, but it's over now. We can work through this." "No, we can't. Please, Liam, just give me a chance to explain. Meet me for coffee. 1 hour. Anywhere you want." Liam looked at his reflection in Ethan's kitchen window. He could meet with Eleanor, endure her hollow apologies and empty promises, perhaps even, for a fleeting moment, believe them. But he had already witnessed who she truly was, the cold, calculating woman, when she believed no one was watching. "There's nothing to explain, Eleanor. What about Chloe? Don't you want our family to stay together for her sake? I want Chloe to grow up seeing what a healthy, honest relationship looks like. That's not us anymore. Liam, please. Goodbye, Eleanor." He hung up, cutting off her desperate pleas, and finished his coffee. 30 minutes later, his phone buzzed with another text message. "I'm not giving up on our marriage. I love you." Liam deleted the message without a moment's hesitation, without responding. That afternoon, Olivia Reed called with an update. "The court has scheduled a hearing for next Wednesday. Your wife's attorney is pushing for mediation instead of a trial." "What does that mean?" "They want to negotiate a settlement without going before a judge. Probably because they know their case is weak now." "What kind of settlement?" "Hard to say, but given the overwhelming evidence you've gathered, you're in a very strong position. They might offer joint custody and a more equitable property division." Liam considered the implications. Joint custody meant Chloe would still spend half her time with Eleanor and, presumably, Maxwell, assuming Eleanor didn't completely end that toxic relationship. It meant continued conflict and profound confusion for his daughter. I want primary custody. Liam, that's a high bar. Even with everything you've meticulously documented, courts are profoundly reluctant to limit a mother's access to her child. Then we go to trial. Olivia was quiet for a moment, weighing his words. That's expensive, and it's risky, and it will be incredibly hard on Chloe. What's harder on Chloe? Liam countered, his voice resolute. A few months of court proceedings, or years of living between two parents who openly hate each other. All right, Olivia conceded, her voice firm. We'll prepare for trial. We'll fight for it. That evening, Liam sat down with Chloe and gently explained what was about to happen. There's going to be a court hearing next week, he said, his voice soft but firm. You might have to talk to a judge about what you want. What should I say? The truth. About what you've seen and heard. About how you feel. Chloe nodded solemnly, her eyes serious. Dad, what if Mom gets better? What if she stops seeing Maxwell and goes back to normal? Liam looked at his daughter, trying to find the precise words that would convey a profound, painful truth without crushing her nascent hope. Chloe, sometimes people show you who they really are when they think no one's watching. Your mom showed me someone I don't recognize anymore. But she's still my mom. Yes, she is. And she always will be. But that doesn't mean we have to pretend things are the same as they were before. Monday morning brought unexpected and gratifying news. Maxwell Croft had been placed on administrative leave from Crestwood Academy, pending a full investigation into conflicts of interest regarding PDA vendor contracts. Liam's carefully orchestrated conversation with Principal Holloway had borne significant fruit. The school board was taking the financial irregularities with utmost seriousness, and Maxwell's career was now in grave jeopardy. That afternoon, Cassandra Thorne called with another, even more satisfying update. Your wife went to Maxwell's condo last night. Big fight in the parking lot. Neighbors actually called security. She left in tears. Is she still trying to salvage the relationship? Doesn't look like it. Maxwell's been telling people she's crazy, that she stalked him, and that he was just trying to let her down easy. He's completely rewriting the whole narrative to protect himself. Liam felt a strange, complex mix of profound satisfaction and genuine pity. Eleanor had ruthlessly destroyed her marriage for a man who was now publicly humiliating her to salvage his own rapidly diminishing reputation. Tuesday evening, Eleanor called one more time, her voice broken, desperate. Liam, Maxwell was using me. You were right about everything. He never cared about me. He just wanted my money. I know. We can start over. We can go to counseling, work on our problems. I'll do whatever it takes. Liam looked around Ethan's living room, where Chloe was quietly doing her homework and Ethan was engrossed in a football game on television. This small, unpretentious space felt more like a true home, more like a family than his own house had in months. Eleanor, it's too late. It's not too late. We have 18 years together. That has to count for something. It does count, Liam replied, his voice hardening, each word a hammer blow of truth. It counts as 18 years you were meticulously planning your exit strategy. That's not fair. Fair. Liam's voice rose, edged with righteous fury. You secretly recorded our conversations to use against me in court. You brazenly tried to turn our daughter against me. You brought another man into our house, into our bed. What part of that, Eleanor, was fair? Eleanor began to sob uncontrollably. I know I made mistakes. But people make mistakes, Liam. You're not perfect either. You're right. I'm not perfect, but I never betrayed you. I never lied to you about where I was or who I was with. I never plotted to take your daughter away from you. She's my daughter, too. Then you should have thought about that before you decided she was worth less than your sordid affair. Liam hung up, cutting off her cries, and turned off his phone entirely. Tomorrow was the court hearing, and he was undeniably ready. Wednesday morning, Liam wore his best suit to the courthouse, its fabric a stark contrast to his usual work attire. Olivia Reed met him outside the family court building, carrying a weighty briefcase crammed with meticulously organized evidence. "How are you feeling?" she asked, a professional glint in her eyes. "Ready." Inside the austere courtroom, Eleanor sat at a table with her attorney, a thin, impeccably dressed man in an expensive suit. She looked tired, visibly older than her 41 years. When she caught sight of Liam, she attempted a sad, conciliatory smile, but he met her gaze with a cold, unwavering stare, then deliberately looked away. Judge Abigail Thorne, a stern, imposing woman in her 60s who had presided over family cases for 2 decades, reviewed the thick files briefly before calling the hearing to order, her gavel rapping sharply. "This is a contested divorce with a custody dispute," Judge Thorne announced, her voice resonating through the quiet room. "Mr. Sterling is seeking primary custody of the minor child. Mrs. Sterling is requesting joint custody and spousal support." "Let's hear opening statements." Olivia Reed stood first, her posture radiating quiet confidence. "Your Honor, this case involved a systematic pattern of deception, financial manipulation, and emotional abuse. Mrs. Sterling has been meticulously planning to abandon her marriage while ruthlessly using the minor child as leverage against her unsuspecting husband. We possess irrefutable audio recordings, compelling surveillance evidence, and credible witness testimony that unequivocally demonstrates Mrs. Sterling's unfitness for primary custody." Eleanor's attorney, Gideon Blackwood, countered smoothly, his voice a practiced bomb. "Your Honor, Mr. Sterling has hired private investigators to stalk his wife and has unilaterally removed the child from the family home without consultation. His work requires extended, undeniable absences, thereby rendering him unsuitable for primary custody. Mrs. Sterling has, conversely, been the primary caregiver for the child for 16 years. Judge Thorne looked at both attorneys, her expression unreadable. "I'll hear evidence from both sides. Ms. Reed, you may present your case." Olivia played the chilling audio recording of Eleanor discussing the divorce with Maxwell. The courtroom was shrouded in a profound silence as Eleanor's cold, calculating voice filled the room. "He's so clueless. 2 weeks offshore, and he has no idea what's happening at home." Then came the damning surveillance photos of Eleanor and Maxwell intimately entering his condo, followed by the security footage of Maxwell brazenly leaving the Sterling house in the dead of night. Finally, Olivia presented the meticulous documentation of Maxwell's dire financial problems. "Your Honor," Olivia declared, her voice resonating with quiet conviction, "Mrs. Sterling knowingly endangered her daughter by bringing an unstable, financially compromised man into the family home. She lied repeatedly, and without compunction, to both her husband and her child. She maliciously attempted to manipulate the minor child against her devoted father. This, Your Honor, is unequivocally not the behavior of a fit, responsible parent." Blackwood attempted to minimize the impact of the evidence, his voice oozing practiced sympathy. "Your Honor, my client readily admits to poor judgment in her personal relationships, but that, in itself, does not render her an unfit mother. She has, after all, provided excellent, unwavering care for her daughter for 16 years. By lying to her constantly, Olivia shot back, her tone sharp, incisive. By exposing her to inappropriate adult situations, by trying to turn her against her own father. Judge Thorne called for a brief recess, her expression grim. In the hallway, Liam saw Eleanor crying uncontrollably in the bathroom doorway. For a fleeting moment, he felt the old, familiar urge to comfort her, to offer solace. Then he remembered her voice on the recording, deriding him as stupid, calmly plotting to snatch his daughter away. The feeling, an unwanted relic of the past, swiftly dissipated. When court resumed, Judge Thorne called Chloe to testify. Liam's daughter walked to the witness stand in her school clothes, looking nervous, yet infused with a quiet, unwavering determination. "Chloe," the judge said gently, her voice kind, "I'm going to ask you some questions about your family. Just tell me the truth, okay?" "Yes, ma'am," Chloe whispered, her voice surprisingly steady. "How do you feel about your parents' separation?" "Sad," Chloe admitted, her gaze fixed on the judge, but not surprised. "Why not surprised?" "My mom has been acting different for months. Staying out late, lying about where she goes, bringing strangers to the house." "Strangers, Chloe?" Judge Thorne asked, prompting gently. "Mr. Croft. He comes over when Dad's working and Mom acts weird around him. Like she changes her voice and laughs at everything he says." Judge Thorne meticulously made notes. "How do you feel when your father is working offshore?" "I miss him, but I understand why he has to work," Chloe stated firmly. "He calls me every day when he's gone. He helps me with homework over video chat. Mom acts like he doesn't care about us, but that's not true. Where would you prefer to live, Chloe?" Chloe looked at Eleanor, then at Liam, before finally returning her gaze to the judge, her voice clear and resolute. "With my dad. He doesn't lie to me." Blackwood attempted to cross-examine Chloe, but she stuck steadfastly to her story, unyielding. Yes, her father was absent for work, but he was undeniably present and engaged when he was home. Yes, her mother took care of her daily needs, but she also introduced inappropriate people into their home and brazenly lied about it. Judge Thorne called another recess to thoroughly review the accumulated evidence. Liam sat in the hallway with Olivia, watching court personnel move between courtrooms, the mundane rhythm of the legal system a strange counterpoint to his internal turmoil. "How do you think it went?" he asked, a hint of anxiety in his voice. "Better than I expected. Your daughter was incredibly credible, and the judge seems genuinely concerned about your wife's behavior." An hour later, they returned to the courtroom for Judge Thorne's final decision. "This is a difficult case involving a family in crisis," the judge began, her voice measured and solemn. "However, based on the compelling evidence presented, I find that Mrs. Sterling has undeniably demonstrated a pattern of deception and profoundly poor judgment that significantly affects her fitness as a custodial parent." Eleanor, seated at her table, began to sob, her shoulders shaking uncontrollably. "Therefore, I am awarding primary physical custody to Mr. Sterling, with supervised visitation for Mrs. Sterling until she successfully completes court-mandated counseling. The marital assets will be divided equally, with no spousal support awarded due to Mrs. Sterling's proven adultery." Liam felt an immense, overwhelming weight lift from his shoulders. Chloe would be safe with him. Eleanor's meticulously crafted, devious plan had failed utterly, irrevocably. Outside the courthouse, Eleanor approached Liam one final time, her face streaked with tears, her voice raw with accusation. "You destroyed my life," she choked out. "No, Eleanor," Liam replied, his voice calm, resolute. "You destroyed your own life. I just meticulously documented it. You turned my daughter against me. I didn't have to turn her against you. You did that yourself, Eleanor, when you chose Maxwell Croft over your family, over Chloe." Eleanor stared at him, her eyes burning with a desperate mixture of hatred and disbelief. "You think you've won? You think this is over?" "It is over, Eleanor. You lost the precise moment you decided I was too stupid, too naive to notice what you were truly doing. Liam turned and walked away, leaving his ex-wife standing alone and defeated on the courthouse steps. 18 years of marriage had ended with the decisive rap of a judge's gavel and a thick folder brimming with irrefutable evidence. 6 months later, Liam stood on the quiet, familiar deck of Meridian Alpha, watching the fiery sun descend over the shimmering expanse of the Gulf of Mexico. The rig hummed with a constant, comforting symphony of activity around him, but within himself, he felt a profound sense of peace he hadn't experienced in years, a stillness that settled deep in his soul. His phone buzzed, a welcome text from Chloe. Got any on my history test? See you Friday when you get home. Love you, Dad. Home. Liam had purchased a modest, comfortable house near Ethan's Auto Haven, conveniently close to Chloe's new school. It wasn't as grand or imposing as the suburban dream house he had once shared with Eleanor, but it was honest. No lies, no secrets, no hidden agendas. Eleanor had completed her court-mandated counseling and now had unsupervised visitation every other weekend. She had moved into a small apartment across town and taken a second job to slowly pay off her mounting legal fees. Maxwell Croft had been summarily fired from the school district and had vanished, moving to another state. Their brief, transactional relationship had ended as quickly as it began, leaving Eleanor to face the stark, unyielding consequences of her choices, utterly alone. Cassandra Thorne had sent Liam a final, concise report. Case closed. Subject has no ongoing relationships of concern. Recommend annual check-ins for minor child safety. Liam deleted the report and Cassandra's contact information. He no longer needed to watch Eleanor. The court order, a sturdy shield, protected Chloe, and Eleanor had learned, in the crucible of her own making, that actions, indeed, had very real and painful consequences. Sometimes, late at night, in the quiet solitude of his bunk on the rig, Liam thought about the 18 years he had devoted to loving a woman who had ultimately seen him as nothing more than a convenient meal ticket and an obstacle to her self-serving happiness. He thought about the years of meticulously calculated planning she had invested in destroying their marriage, all while he had worked tirelessly offshore, risking his life to support their family. But mostly, overwhelmingly, he thought about Chloe. His daughter was thriving in their new life, blossoming in the stability and honesty, achieving excellent grades, excelling at soccer, excitedly discussing her college aspirations. She visited Eleanor regularly, as mandated, but always returned home to Liam with a palpable sense of relief and genuine happiness, her eyes alight with joy. Liam's phone rang, a familiar chime interrupting his contemplative thoughts. It was Chloe, calling from her study group. Hey, Dad. Just want to check in. Ms. Davies says hi. Tell her I said hello, kiddo. How's the homework going? Good. We're studying the Constitution. Did you know the founders were really worried about checks and balances? Like, they didn't want any one person to have too much power. Liam smiled, watching the last vestiges of light fade from the western sky, painting it in hues of orange and purple. Smart men, he murmured, a quiet appreciation in his voice. They understood that power without accountability truly corrupts people. Exactly, Chloe exclaimed, her voice bright with newfound understanding. Hey, Dad. Yeah, kiddo. Thanks for fighting for me. I know it was expensive and hard, but I'm really, really glad you did it. You don't have to thank me for that, Chloe. You're my daughter. I'll always fight for you. After they hung up, Liam stood alone on the platform, enveloped by the rhythmic, comforting sounds of machinery and the endless ebb and flow of ocean waves. The rig would continue to run all night, tirelessly extracting precious oil from deep beneath the seafloor, transforming raw materials into something immensely valuable. Not unlike what he had done with his own life. He had taken the raw, painful materials of betrayal and lies and, through sheer force of will, transformed them into truth and justice. He had protected his daughter, secured her future, and in doing so, preserved his own hard-won dignity. Eleanor had been right about one thing. He had been too naive, too trusting to notice what was happening at first, but she had been catastrophically wrong about everything else. Liam Sterling wasn't just some simple blue-collar worker who would roll over and meekly accept defeat. He was a man who understood profoundly that the hardest, most vital work happened in the depths, under immense pressure, where only the strongest materials truly survived. The rig below, in its relentless operation, had taught him patience, precision, and the invaluable worth of meticulous preparation. When the inevitable time came to defend his family, those harsh, vital lessons had served him incredibly well. Liam finished his shift and went inside to call his daughter goodnight. Tomorrow, he'd be home, and they'd have dinner together, and she'd tell him all about her day. Simple things, honest things, the kind of life unequivocally worth fighting for.